I'm Courtenay Brown. I'm the senior economics reporter at Macro. I'm the co-author of Axios Macro, which I will rush to go right with some of the insights from this interview. Our next conversation is going to look at infrastructure, some of the industrial systems that will be required to support the next generation of AI. Please give a very warm welcome to the Honeywell CEO, Vimal Kapur. Okay, you just told me you've been coming to Davos for 5 years.
5 years,
fifth time. What's new this year?
So far this year, it's less cold, more sunny, and less wind.
What about with respect to AI?
I think this is probably second year that the AI dialogue is happening, and hopefully we're talking more about how it makes businesses better, how to make lives better. I think last year it was a lot of excitement, but now it's all about how we make it use better. So I'm sure this is my couple of hours here, so next few days we'll learn more about it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about something very sexy, infrastructure. And I want to hear from you, what parts of the industrial infrastructure base are unprepared for this new era we're charging into with respect to AI?
So I think when we think about AI, one thing which is assumed is that there's tons of data which is available and we can train it and we can do new things with that, which is true for a general domain in which we all live as humans, because our data is in public domain and it could be trained. But when you look at industrial infrastructure, a supply chain, energy systems, buildings, their data is not in public domain. You can't Google to find data of this building to say what it is doing, right?
Yeah.
So first, the data friction is very high. It's stored in some proprietary systems. And unless you don't have access to data, you can't really solve a specific issue. So that's kind of a barrier one. The barrier two is that in industrial world, the problems are very different by the sector. So if you are serving a life sciences customer, they are really focused on quality of the product. If you are serving a customer in energy sector like oil and gas, you're worried about uptime and so on. So even if you have access to data, the problems you need to solve are very different. It means you need domain knowledge. So that makes the industrial AI or physical AI different. And a third dimension is that physical AI also requires a deterministic solution, which means probability-based systems can't work. So let's say if using an AI and ask for recommendation for a restaurant, the probability of recommendation is 95% good, 5% if it is not good. The downside is I'll get angry, right? That's about it. But in an industrial system, a recommendation which is not correct can have implication on productivity, even on the safety.
Right.
So when we look at that, I think that's what we're really looking at, that the opportunity here is big. And opportunity is all about solving these issues to help customer bridge the gap of skills. Because if you ask the industrial sectors, one of the biggest challenges is lack of skilled people. And AI is going to be bridged to solve that with the capabilities which different companies, we heard from Thomas earlier, we're working a lot more with Google, we heard from Qualcomm. So these are all our partners which are helping us to build this new infrastructure for physical AI.
Although I know the safety question, it's a big one, but if you see me hangry, it is very unsafe. So the restaurant recommendation does matter quite a bit to me. I like that you brought up jobs. I had a fascinating conversation with a group of healthcare executives this morning, and one of the things that came up was, folks in their industry are not worried about AI taking their jobs. There is a shortage of workers. They need AI to do the jobs that people aren't doing right now. And I have a feeling you can relate to that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we as a community are not talking two fundamental factors which are happening today. One is the population is not growing. The replacement rate in all mature markets is less than 2. US is 1.6. So it means less people are coming into a workforce. And number two, a lot of jobs which are required to manage operations of a complex infrastructure, people don't want to do those jobs. People don't want to do jobs in which you have to touch with hands. So that really leads to not having enough skilled people to run an operation of a complex industrial system. So how do you solve it? is you will have to onboard younger people with lower skills because as people retire, and then AI provides tools to make those people more productive. An example I always give is we could drive if you have Google Maps. So Google Map is your agent in this case, and you are the driver who's a good driver. So you have one skill, you know how to drive, but you do not have skills of navigation. But navigation skill has been substituted by an agent in this case. So if you kind of transport that into industrial systems, you can have somebody with 5-year experience to run an operation, while historically you need 20. But that gap is being bridged by a tool set which tells you what to do, how to do it safely, how to do it repeatably. And I think that's going to be an important factor to bridge the gap. Interestingly enough, customers in our space are less worried about AI displacing jobs. They're more worried about not having enough people to run their operation, and therefore they can have potential revenue loss. So it's a risk reduction strategy for them and less about productivity.
Can you take me inside Honeywell? What are the types of jobs that have been automated? What are the types of jobs that have been, augmented with AI?
I mean, automated would be primarily on software development. I would say that's been probably happening for more than 2 years. So that's nothing novel in Honeywell. Few things in probably customer service. I think most of it is augmentation. That how do you have different roles adopting these tools primarily to add more speed of execution. I mean, as an example, we are a company which deliver more engineered system. What engineered system means is everything is built in order to a customer, right? And we write specifications every time before we build our system. So it's like we're a custom tailor shop, custom suit. We will measure you and then we'll design for you. That takes a lot of time. So we are automating generation of specification using AI so that engineers spend less time to duplicate what they did 20 times before. And that to me is a great set of augmentation because we can't find those smart people enough. So that helps us to drive that productivity. So I think augmentation is going to be name of the game in different processes. So I worry less about displacement. More so, as a company, we think we are going to grow 6 to 7% a year, so we can easily absorb more productivity, which AI will bring in. We are not looking this primarily as a massive productivity tool.
Got it. What do you think that traditional AI/tech firms can learn from Honeywell?
I mean, we are the industry we represent. We follow the tech industry. So essentially, how companies like us work is we provide automation system to different end markets, buildings, infrastructure, energy, supply chain, and so on. We are follower of what happens in the tech industry. So when Qualcomm creates a new chip, or Google invents a new cloud solution, a new LLM, or Microsoft creates new cloud, our job is to imagine how will that get applied in industrial world. So we work with all of them all the time and think of us as an integrator of their applications. I mean, learning from us is more around, I would say, we always co-create with them. And I think co-creation requires certain level of trust and maturity. And that's what we always remind our tech world partners, that they have to just trust our instincts on investing into few areas which are going to help the world which we serve.
I want to ask you a similar question, but I want to ask about policymakers, many of which are here in Davos. What is it you think they are not paying attention to, not understanding with respect to the AI build out? I want to tell you, the HPE CEO was here yesterday, and he said that policymakers should essentially come and do an apprenticeship at HPE.
I mean, one is, I think definitely all of us, that includes me, you have to be immersive learner, because you cannot just read something and say AI does this or doesn't do that. I think we have to immerse ourselves. Biggest thing I think each country has to do is think about the future education policy. What I really, I don't worry about it, but what I always think about it is that as skills are reducing, which we talked earlier, but AI is becoming much more prevalent, how will the education system change, and how we prepare generation of 2040 and 2050 to be ready for the futuristic workforce. And I think that's something that has to be reimagined, because our education system is built upon, pick a year, 1970s, 1980s. So it's been grandfathered to many people like us. But I think the next generation can benefit from that. So I think that's what one has to think about from policymaker. Other thing I will say is more integrated working together, which we do quite a lot with the governments, because we have insight on what will happen into our industry in 5 years. So taking those technology implications and embedding that into policy and working that together is always an opportunity. And most governments do that with us. It's not that always it's going to happen, but I think always have a good dialogue to say these are the technologies which are going to become enabled, and how they should think about its implication in design of the policy for their country.
Honeywell is not the big conglomerate it once was. There's been a lot of slimming down, but you do still make physical stuff. So I want to ask you about the manufacturing economic backdrop. How do you see it right now, and how have tariffs complicated or maybe not complicated that?
Honeywell has 150 manufacturing facilities, so and we are proud of it because we make physical products with software embedded into it. So it's a kind of unique word of industrial and software merged. That's how best way to explain us. I would say tariff is a transitionary thing on the new strategy by the U.S. administration on how they believe it should run, and we as a company need to just adjust to that. Thankfully for us, most of our manufacturing is local. We don't move around a lot stuff. We don't make products in Europe and ship to US or vice versa. We have something like 30 manufacturing facilities in Europe. We have several in China. We have 60 or 70 in US in that number. So we are heavily domestic in each sector. And I think what it does is tariff essentially is the things which are not made domestically, you have to pay duties on that. So to me is local for local is the way to go. I guess that's a signal from political system. Every country which has large scale, they like you to be locally present. And we fully recognize that. If you have a scale, we'll like to do it.
Is that something new with respect to the Trump era, or has that kind
It's
of
always
attitude been
been.
around?
You don't set up factories like we do in overnight. So we have been organized this way for a while. And I guess it's a new era in which whichever country has large economic capacity, manufacturing just gets shifted there. So supply chains are becoming much more regional. Having a European supply chain versus North America supply chain versus Asia. There are some components which are truly global. They're still made in one or two countries, like semiconductors. We all know that story. They still can't be localized, but I think for most part, supply base can be localized.
I want to ask you as a CEO, while I have you on stage, you mentioned it yourself. Building a factory doesn't happen overnight. Building a manufacturing facility doesn't happen overnight. Is it hard to plan right now? Is it any harder to plan now than it has been in recent years?
I wouldn't say that I haven't observed any trend in which customers have stopped long-term investments. I think most of the things which are having pause is much more which are short-term. If policy uncertainty can make your decision differently in 9 or 12 months, then you pause for it. But if you're creating capacity, which is 5 years from now, you have to go forward and do it.
Have you paused at all?
We have not paused anything, not at all. We are splitting into 3 companies, and we don't think we are going to change. We already spun off as one company in last year. We're going to have a separation with our aerospace business second half of the year. So none of that is stopping, and none of our work to expand our capacity or doing acquisitions is stopping, because we are a 100-year-old company, and we'll be here for 100 more years at least. So we have to think in time horizons which are very different, and these are transitionary things which occur, and we just need to adjust to the political dialogue which occurs at any point of time.
I want to end on one fun thing. I've heard something about you. I've heard you operate with kind of a simplify mindset. And so I want to ask you, what in your life are you struggling to simplify outside of Honeywell?
What life? I think it's always difficult to deal with the work-related stress. So I think simplifying that is always critical. So how do you declutter your life so that you don't take stress of your work to your home? And how do you do that? I guess that's a skill. You have to de-stress yourself in different ways. And simplicity is the best way to live life. Have less expectations. It's a good way to note, somebody taught me 30 or 35 years back that take your job seriously, don't take yourself too seriously. So when you separate the two, I'm CEO of Honeywell, but I won't be that 10 years from now or 15 years from now. So I'm a human being, so I have to remember that. but I'm CEO of Honeywell today, so I have to do my job. So my job is very serious, and I have to do every application to do it well. But when I go home, I'm a human, and I just have to declutter myself and simplify my life.
Will you write a book and teach us all how to do that? Because I feel like that's a lesson we all need to take home with us.
First, go and run in the morning. You'll feel very light. That's the first
What
thing
about a
to do.
walk, a brisk walk?
Both are good. Both
Okay.
are good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Vimal,
Thank you,
so
but
much.
thank you.